Oh, the response is Erev Tov when someone says a good evening to you. Erev Tov. Great. Good evening, everyone. I'm David Widzer. I'm the rabbi here at Temple B'nai Shalom. We are so thrilled to be able to welcome all of you here to be host to this annual meeting of the Jewish Community Relations Council of Greater Washington. It truly is an honor to be able to host all of you, to get to show off our beautiful congregation here. We're pretty proud of it. You never know that back in December we had a flood in the building and we're out of our space here for a number of months. It's all renovated and we're glad to be able to have you back with us as well. We're particularly glad to be hosting tonight as we honor your president and our good friend and member, Bob Budoff. We're thrilled to have this opportunity to celebrate that. We're here at a particular moment on the Jewish calendar. We are here in a season of counting, a season of counting. As you may know, the period between Pesach until Shavuot is the counting of the Omer. We're about to start day 43 for those of you who are counting along. But as we count from redemption from Egypt to Revelation at Mount Sinai, a week from tonight, our sanctuary will be filled with our 10th grade students for Erev Shavuot and our confirmation service. So we're counting our days up through the Omer. We're also in a period of counting in our Torah reading. Our Torah portion this week is Shabbat Bamidbar, the beginning of the book of Numbers. And it starts with a census of the Israelites. This and so many for this tribe, and this and so many for this tribe. Grand total Torah recounts 603,550 Israelites, although that actually was just the men. So there were a lot more than them. Actually, I taught the kids this week, there's a rabbinic midrash, a rabbinic teaching that the soul of every Jewish person was right there present at Mount Sinai. Everyone who ever was or is or will be part of the Jewish community, their soul was. So if you look around and you see someone and they look a little familiar, you may have met them at Sinai. It's appropriate for us to be in this season of counting as we come together tonight welcoming JCRC, because JCRC certainly is one of the premier institutions in our community that really does count. And more than that, we know that we can count on JCRC in so many ways. We count on JCRC to be a voice for us in relation with our public officials or in our connections with other faiths. We count on the JCRC when we have an issue in our schools about observing our holidays or making our schools safe places from anti-Semitism when our kids are subjected to that. In so many ways, we count on JCRC to be there as our voice and our representative. We are so appreciative of all the work that is done on our behalf. We also know that you have counted for these last 2 years on Bob to be your steady leader, guide, president, such dedication and work that he has provided to you all. We know that here at Temple. We count on Bob. Actually, we count Bob in quite literally, as he's one of the stalwart members of our Shabbat morning minyan and Torah study, so we count there to make sure we have. But we also count on him and Sheila to be strong and passionate advocates for Israel in our community as chairs of our Israel Committee, bringing us speakers and programs, helping coordinate our participation in the WZO elections, and standing up for what is good and right in the same way that JCRC stands up for our values in the broader world. So in all of these ways, it's an appropriate time to be counting on JCRC, counting on Bob in all of those ways. Speaking of counting, I'm aware that the number of my minutes is counted down. So I'll just end with wishing a mazel tov to JCRC on another successful year, and a mazel tov to Bob on the conclusion of his presidency. Welcome, everybody. We're glad that you're here tonight.
Rabbi, thank you so much for hosting us and welcoming us to this beautiful sanctuary. And welcoming us to the Commonwealth of Virginia. So I knew that there was something over there on the other side of the river, and I was appreciated the tour and being able to see it, and what a lovely place. So thank you all, and thank you all for coming. I'm Thorne Posen, the immediate past president of the JCRC. That's what Ron says is the best position to have. Bob, you're about to join the ranks thereof. Not that you get away from stuff, because Ron will still be calling you, but not quite as much as in your past position. I have the honor and distinction of one of my last formal official roles in presiding over the business portion of this meeting, which we'll try to get to as efficiently, quickly, thoughtfully, with as much deliberative presence as necessary, but allow us to move to some of the other portions of tonight's events. So with that, I wanted to take just a moment of personal privilege to congratulate Bob. It's been an absolute honor and privilege to have worked with you for many years now, both during the time that I was served as president, and most specifically the time that you've served as president. And you've just done remarkable work in an extremely challenging time. So thank you for that, and congratulations on your successful and wonderful term that you were able to have here. We've definitely benefited from your leadership and are now very well positioned to continue the growth. And also to Galia Mitska Greenberg, welcome to you as well. And I think is tonight the night that we will actually know. We will not formally vote on that. Vote today. But yes. So we'll do that. It's in my 47 pages of notes here. We'll get to that. So a preliminary congratulations to you, and look forward to your term. I will want to also thank and express very sincere gratitude to members of the nominating committee. We've met on a number of occasions, a really dedicated group, and thanks to them, we have several slates that we will be able to present to you and make this night much easier and smoother for moving forward. So thank you very much to the nominating committee. And it's very important, the work that they've done, that we've done together with them, and they've done to bring a diversity and thoughtfulness to the folks that we'll be bringing forward to you as the slate. So thank you to them. Okay, so without further ado, we'll move forward with, anyone who want to guess how many votes we will need to do in order to get through this? Because we're doing counting, apparently. So we will count to 7, and that's the number of votes that we'll do. So we'll do 7 votes with the various slates of folks. First of which will be the executive committee. So what I would like to do is, on behalf of the nominating committee, and as approved by the nominating committee, present the slate of officers from the board to be elected to the executive committee. And that is Galia, this is where we'll do it right here. Galia Mitska Greenberg as president, vice president Benim Danem as vice president also, Albert Bloomfield, Stephanie Sanders Levy as, yes, vice president, Todd Rosenberg for treasurer, assistant treasurer Larry Haas, secretary Aline Filler-Korn, and immediate past president, yes, Bob Budoff. So is there a motion to approve the slate of executive committee members? So moved. It's been moved. Is there a second? Second. It's been seconded. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? I don't have a gavel, but that's a vote. So congratulations. All right. On yes. With that as a model, we will move to our second vote, which is for the community representative to the JCRC board. We have just 2 for that, Mindy Berger and David Karkoff. Do I have a nomination, motion, excuse me. Motion to approve. Is there a second? I hear a second in the back there. Thank you. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Done, and congratulations to you two both. Okay, moving right along. We got a third vote here, and this is for the community representatives. And these are the folks that will be re-elected to serve an additional term on the board. They are Alex Brill, Wendy Fishman, Steve Gale, Miriam Gladson, Alan Korn, Susan Culp, Bob Margolis, Cheryl Miller, Jody Price, Dan Priwas, H. Mark Rabin, Janice Schiff, Marla Schulman, and June Trone. Is there a motion to accept the nominations as presented? It's been moved. Is there a second? Second. There's a second in the front there. There's a moment of hesitation. It's okay. We'll take it. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Congratulations. Thank you very much. Okay, fourth vote. This is for the organizational representatives. We have two. Representing the ADL, we have Amy Berman, and representing the Jewish war veterans, we have Jim Strumman. Is there a motion to accept those two slate representatives? Yeah, I hear a motion there. Thank you, sir. Is there a second? It's been seconded. Thank you in the front. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Congratulations, done, and thank you very much. Okay, moving right along. We're just zip-zapping here. We're counting again here. We're up to number 5. This is for the organizational representatives, and these are folks that will be re-elected to serve an additional term. There are 3. Representing Reconstructing Judaism is Peter Haas. Representing the conservative movement is Rabbi Mark Israel. And representing the Orthodox Union is Yosef Settler. So, is there a motion to accept those? I heard a motion. Is there a second to that? I hear several seconds. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Any abstentions? No. Hearing none, that's a vote. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Okie doke. Almost there. Up to number 6. The 6th vote is for the nominating committee for next year. Back to you, Mr. Budoff, in your coming capacity as immediate past chair, immediate past president, you would serve as the chair. We have Ellen Filler-Korn, Steve Gale, Ellen Kagan, Ben Klubis, and then representing Temple Sinai is Bruce Bernstein, representing Temple B'nai Shalom is Shelley Bond, and representing Shir Torah is Jonathan Liss, and representing Beth Shalom Congregation is Joy Strum. Is there a motion to accept that slate? I hear a motion. Is there a second? Second. It's been seconded. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. 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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Congratulations. All right, we're almost. All right, we have a 7th vote. This is as important as all the others here. The Audit Committee. Susan Culp as chair, Michael Friedman, Miriam Galston, Rick Goldstein, and Dr. Ron Paul. Is there a motion to accept those folks as a slate for the Audit Committee? It's been moved. Thank you. Is there a second? I hear a second. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Done. Thank you so much for that. So, a hearty congratulations to the new and returning board members. I Hope you have a meaningful and productive experience, and let me be the first to offer you some advice and assistance during your service. As on the board, if you need anything, you can talk to Bob, or okay, yeah. And with that, I think I got one more thing here. Hold it, sorry. Yep. Also, I want to be sure to thank our outgoing board members. Their passion and commitment to our agency has been terrific, and thank you so much for that, and all the very best to you all. They include Ellen Blaylock, Jay Feldman, Amy Amundo, Bambi Kramer, Sarah Prower, Robert Shapiro, and Tal Wadis. Thank you so much for your service. Well, that was great. I think that was kind of a record there, getting through that. And with that, I'd like to turn it back over to Bob Budoff. Is that right? Yes? Nope? All right, I will turn it over. And thank you very much for that.
Well, that was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed that. Good evening. And I want to thank the rabbi and prior speakers for a very warm welcome and introduction. I'm Steve Gale, and standing on my right side is Alex Brill. No, we are not identical twins, but together we do co-chair the Virginia Committee of the JCRC. And Bob Budoff once led the Virginia Committee before becoming board president. So those are going to be very difficult shoes for us to fill, but we will try our best. Along with everyone here tonight, many community leaders want to recognize and thank Bob for his exemplary leadership of the JCRC during the past 2 years.
Although they were unable to join us, several elected officials have sent proclamations in your honor, Bob. And we wanted to take a moment to read one of them from Governor Abigail Spanberger. The governor writes, "Dear Bob, on behalf of the entire Commonwealth of Virginia, I am pleased to extend my sincere gratitude for your service and commitment to your community. Under your leadership, the JCRC has significantly expanded donor engagement, secured critical government funding to enhance community protection, launched new recognition and civic partnership initiatives, and strengthened its coalition building and intergroup efforts. Your dedication to advocating for the Jewish institutions and educating the public about key issues impacting the Jewish community is commendable and reflects a strong commitment to excellence. Achievements such as yours contribute greatly to the strength and vitality of communities across the Commonwealth. I wish you best wishes for your continued success in the years ahead. Sincerely, Governor Abigail Spanberger."
Bob's bold leadership has also been recognized by Congressman James Walkinshaw, who put into the congressional record a very impressive testimony. I will, if you bear with me, just read one paragraph from it. Under Bob Budoff's leadership, the Jewish Community Relations Council of Greater Washington has continued its important work advancing community partnership, promoting dialogue across faiths, and supporting efforts that strengthen our understanding and civic participation throughout the region. More to be read at your leisure, Bob. In addition, we have a proclamation from Delegate Laura Jane Cohn and the Fairfax County Supervisor Dalia Polchek. And if you bear with me, I will read just a couple of paragraphs which pay tribute to Bob's tireless work. Let's see, which one shall I choose? Okay, I like this one. Bob has served in numerous leadership roles at Temple B'nai Shalom in Fairfax including founding and leading the congregation's Israel Committee for more than 20 years. And there are several whereas. So I'll pick one of those whereas, which goes like this. Bob's commitment to building understanding and cooperation among diverse communities has made a lasting and meaningful impact across Fairfax County and the region. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors, on behalf of all its residents, does hereby recognize and commend Bob Budoff for his outstanding achievement, his leadership, and his dedication to service to the community.
Now, I would like to welcome to the Bima Hassan Eksi from the American Turkish Friendship Association, with whom Bob developed a close relationship and attended numerous interfaith events as board president of the JCRC. Hassan, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Good evening. I'm Hassan. I'm a board member at ATFA and a business group leader. I'm here tonight on behalf of Hakan, our executive director. I would like to read you his letter. On behalf of the American Turkish Friendship Association, we are honored to recognize and celebrate the dedicated service of Mr. Bob Budoff. During his tenure as the board president of the Jewish Community Relations Council of Greater Washington, Bob provided outstanding leadership in strengthening relationships across diverse communities. His efforts to foster meaningful Muslim-Jewish engagement have built deeper understanding, trust, and lasting partnerships. Bob has been a steadfast supporter of interfaith collaboration, including initiatives that bring together youth and teen groups from different backgrounds. His consistent presence, encouragement, and active participation in joint programs have helped create welcoming spaces where genuine dialogue and friendships can flourish. We are deeply grateful for the opportunity to partner with Mr. Budoff and sincerely appreciate his unwavering support and commitment to promoting unity, cooperation, and shared values in our community. As he concludes his service as board president, we extend our heartfelt thanks and wish him continued success and fulfillment in the years ahead. Thank you.
Last but not least, on behalf of the board of directors, the entire professional staff of the JCRC, Steve and I would like to offer a small token of our appreciation for your incredible service and your continued dedication. May it find a warm place in your home and serve as a reminder of your tenure as president of the JCRC. And it's this piece of art. We're going to do one picture of the three of us. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'll take these.
Well, we can, yeah, sure.
These. It's Bob.
Thank you to everyone. I'm almost speechless, but that doesn't happen to me too often. Thank you, everyone, for coming here tonight. I know it was quite a trip to the other side of the Delmarva region. And especially my deep thanks to Temple B'nai Shalom for hosting the JCRC's annual meeting this evening. It's especially meaningful for me to be here in my synagogue, where we, my family, we have celebrated joyous life cycle events. My daughter was named here, attended religious school from K to 12, became bat mitzvah here, as did my wife. My daughter will be married by Rabbi Witzer in just a few months. And of course, the wonderful couple is sitting right up here. She's missing softball, so so she just might like me a little still. So, and unfortunately, we also shared a lot of sad events where we mourned our losses here. And our congregational family was always here for us over 31 years. It's been a great honor, obviously, to have served as president of the JCRC for the past 2 years. I share my heartfelt and fundamental core values with the JCRC. Important parts of my Jewish identity, my love for Israel, although a tough love at times, my commitment to promoting social justice, a kind and tolerant society, and a democracy with a lowercase d here in the greatest diaspora that Jews have ever known. The JCRC has accomplished and continues to strive to further achieve goals consistent with these core values of mine. But let me be clear, these accomplishments would not have been possible but for the hard work, dedication, wisdom, and the expertise of JCRC's wonderful professional staff, under the outstanding leadership of Ron Halber and Gila Franklin Siegel. I truly stand on their shoulders. Let me highlight just a few of our organization's accomplishments and activities during the last 2 years. Supporting our brothers and sisters in Israel and standing up for Israel's right to defend itself, advocating for the release of living hostages and those no longer with us, making our case to public officials, frequent briefings with experts inside and outside of the governments of Israel and the United States, with online programs, each attended by hundreds, if not more, and defeating anti-Israel resolutions wherever they were introduced, but also standing up for our values, as shown quite recently by urging the Israeli government to take effective action to end the lawless violence against Palestinian civilians in the West Bank. Combating denial, gaslighting, and misinformation about October 7th, which continues to this day. Fighting anti-Semitism that has hit like a tsunami here at home has been a cornerstone of our work. We have empowered teens to confront daily anti-Semitic hostility in their schools, educated school administrators, testified before local, state, and national elected bodies, and advocated for increased security grants, obtaining millions of dollars at the local, state, and federal levels for synagogues, schools, and other Jewish institutions throughout the DMV. I'm particularly proud of our advocacy here in the Commonwealth for 3 amendments to our state constitution. One removing the ban against same-sex marriage, another restoring voting rights for felons who have served their terms, and the last one enshrining in our state constitution the fundamental right to reproductive freedom, including but not limited to abortion. Our staff also continues to be very active in interfaith relations, building bridges with many non-Jewish communities and faiths. I'm particularly proud of the strong relationship that you heard from just a few minutes ago that we developed with the American Turkish Friendship Association, and our active participation in the Interfaith Council of Metropolitan Washington, promoting dialogue, understanding, and a sense of community among many faith communities in our region. Also, our Scholar in Residence program last spring with Sharaka, a group of youth leaders from the Gulf and from Israel, dedicated to promoting peace and normalization on a people-to-people basis. That, in turn, led to the birth of JCRC's Partners for Peace initiative. The JCRC success also is reflected in the gala, raising a record $2 million last fall. I'm very grateful to our supporters who have helped make the JCRC stronger and more influential than ever. I'm also very pleased that the renovation of the JCRC's offices has been completed, allowing for continued expansion of our agency to continue to meet the growing needs of our community as well as the larger communities. And I want to also especially express my gratitude to our board of directors. Thank you for all your service and support, which makes all this possible. In closing, as I pass the baton to incoming President Galia Masika Greenberg, I want to wish you all the best and know that you will do a superb job. And my advice to you is quite simple. Rely on the counsel of the JCRC's excellent staff and be guided by your values. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Galia Masika Greenberg. Thank you for being here tonight. It also marks Jerusalem Day, important day. And we're here to honor the leadership of Bob Budoff, who has guided the JCRC through turbulent times for our community during the last 2 years, and they have been extremely turbulent. I am humbled to follow in his steps and also of those who preceded him. And I know that I have big shoes to fill. I'm honored to have gained the confidence and trust of the JCRC to lead what I believe is one of the most important and impactful Jewish organizations in our region. A few words about my background, for those who don't know me, and those who do. So I was born and raised in Israel in a small city named Kfar Saba, just outside of Tel Aviv, to Zionist parents who made Aliyah. My mom came to Israel from South Africa, and my dad from Libya, North Africa. It's a true Israeli story of kibbutz galuyot. I proudly served in the IDF for 3 years, and I studied law at the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. I was fortunate to be selected to clerk for the Israeli Supreme Court Chief Justice, Aaron Barak, after which I received a full merit scholarship to attend NYU's law school. Fortunate indeed. Following my graduation, I spent more than a decade as a commercial litigator with the law firm of Kirkland & Ellis in New York City. And after that, I relocated with my family to this area, the DC region, actually with a little stop here in Virginia for a couple years. I'm currently general counsel for Potomac Law Group, which is a DC-based law firm. My background as an Israeli American has led me to serve on a number of boards, all of which I felt a special connection to. The Israeli American Council, the American Friends of Hebrew University, and of course, the JCRC of Greater Washington. I am told that I am the first president of the JCRC who is both Israeli and American. As such, it should come as no surprise that I would like to create more opportunities for people in our community to engage in Israel advocacy and to experience Israel firsthand by either bringing Israeli delegations to our community or having community leaders visit Israel. There's simply no better way to understand the advancements taking place in Israel, see the challenges she faces, and reveal the truth about what life is like in Israel than experiencing it for yourself. With so much misinformation about Israel on social media, news outlets, and college campuses, these visits are vital to understanding and advocating for Israel. In addition, given my background, I believe I'm uniquely positioned to serve as a connector between Israelis and American Jews. Just as I have gotten involved with JCRC, I have friends who have devoted their time to other Jewish American organization, and I'm hopeful that my leadership role will inspire other Israelis to do the same. The deep understanding of Israeli culture, politics, and history that Israeli Americans can bring to these types of roles is extremely valuable, and I will work on continuing to create bridges so that we can all work collaboratively on our joint goals. And there are many. So while initially my interest in the JCRC's work focused on Israel advocacy, given my background, as a parent to 3 kids in the Montgomery County public school system, I quickly realized the importance of JCRC's education initiatives. This interest increased in particular after the attacks of October 7th and the uptick in anti-Semitism in our region's schools, which we have personally faced as well in our own family. It is my hope that JCRC becomes, if it hasn't already, the first partner that educators contact when dealing with anti-Semitism at school or when they're looking to bring additional resources into the classroom about Jewish people and Jewish history. For example, JCRC's partnership with the Whitman High School Cluster and ADL to provide training to all educators on how to recognize and handle anti-Semitism can serve as a model for other school clusters and systems in our region. I'm hoping we can replicate the program and offer all school principals an opportunity to participate in such training. In addition, I'm hopeful we can expand on our incredibly successful student-to-student program and the impactful Holocaust Speakers Bureau to reach, someone's trying to get in, to reach more young people and teach them about Jewish history, culture, and religion. Having young Jewish students tell others about their own family's history, identity, religion, and struggles is so powerful. Lastly, I want to focus on creating more intergroup partnerships and coalition. There is strength in numbers, and I truly believe that the more allies we have, the more effective we can be. So Bob, I'll be reaching out to you to discuss your efforts in that regard. I would like to conclude my remarks by stating that it's a true honor to have been nominated to serve as JCRC's board president. I look forward to working with Ron Halber and the rest of the dedicated and professional JCRC staff. I'm eager to get started and welcome your input and partnership. Together, I know we will make a difference. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Gila Franklin Siegel, the Chief Operating Officer of the JCRC of Greater Washington. I'm pleased and honored to be moderating tonight's screening and panel discussion regarding Under God, the film. I'm filling in for our JCRC board member, Beth Mitchell, who is homesick and couldn't be with us. So I hope she feels better soon. I'd like to thank my JCRC colleagues, Vicki Fishman, our phenomenal Director of Virginia Government Affairs and Community Relations, and Alan Brody, our terrific Director of Communications, for their work in putting together this portion of tonight's program. I want to thank the director and producer of the film you're about to watch, Paula Eisel. She graciously gave us the rights to screen this powerful film for our community tonight. Tonight's discussion comes at a critical time for the future of reproductive rights in our nation. Since Roe v. Wade was overturned in 2022, we have witnessed relentless efforts to chip away at core individual rights that were once guaranteed under federal law. So much of this battle is taking place at the state level, from legislation to constitutional amendments to litigation to supporting local abortion funds, all to allow individuals to overcome financial, geographic, and legal obstacles to access the health care they need. Here in Virginia, voters will decide in November whether to enshrine the right to reproductive freedom in the state constitution. We'll be hearing more about that from our speakers after the film. American Jews have long been at the forefront of the fight for reproductive rights. Indeed, in a time of polarization and division, over 80% of American Jews agree that abortion should be legal in all or most cases. The film we are about to watch explains why that is, and it highlights some of the groundbreaking work in which American Jewish activists are engaged to assert our religious freedoms and to ensure access to safe, private, and comprehensive reproductive health care. Without further ado, we're pleased to present Under God.
The mezuzah should be in this door frame, but we have it over here. We made that decision when we first moved here and we're setting up our house. There was swastikas on campus the summer we moved in, and there was a neo-Nazi at the farmer's market, so that we just weren't super comfortable publicizing that we were Jewish. Up here is artwork that my husband, Arkady, did. When you're pregnant, they often compare the size of the fetus to different fruit and vegetables. And so as the fetus of Ava was growing, he painted her size. We had hoped to do something similar for the second pregnancy, but it never took off. 39 weeks ago, essentially today, I became pregnant. Arkady and I have a 4-year-old, and we really wanted Ava to have a sibling, and she really wants a sibling. At 17 weeks, the fetus was diagnosed with trisomy 18. And trisomy 18 is a chromosomal abnormality that is largely incompatible with life. We made the decision to terminate, and what sort of made us comfortable terminating a pregnancy is that I was raised to believe that life doesn't begin until a fetus is born, and that is very much rooted in my Jewish identity and Jewish law. The clock was ticking because the law in Indiana is you can have an abortion through 20 weeks. We did the termination at 18 weeks. Following the Dobbs decision and the overturning of Roe v. Wade, the governor called the Indiana legislature to discuss an abortion ban bill. SB 1, Senate Bill 1. We had senators on the floor of the Senate say, and this is a direct quote,
"I enjoy being in the Indiana Senate, but I love Jesus."
It's really unclear if my abortion would have been allowed if the bill had been in place. I have been really fired up about it.
It's not easy being a rabbi and a lawyer, but it's a Jewish value to stand up against authority. Jews have never hesitated to stand on the fringe of society when it's necessary to fight against oppression. When Roe v. Wade was overturned, I started right then and there to gear up towards fighting for abortion rights. HB 5 is a law that was passed in Florida on July 1. It prohibits abortions after 15 weeks, and it says that anyone who actively participates in an abortion which violates these rules can be criminally prosecuted. What does that mean, to actively participate in an abortion? If a woman comes and says, "Rabbi, what should I do?" and the rabbi says, according to Jewish law, you should have the abortion, you need it to protect yourself, and she gets the abortion, he actively participated. You're now preventing us from exercising our right to freedom of religion as Jews. And so I decided to file a lawsuit against HB 5 on novel grounds. Specifically, the First Amendment to the United States Constitution says the government cannot establish religion or prohibit the free exercise thereof. And then you have Governor DeSantis going as the head of state into a church to announce this law. It's an arrogant defiance. It's like saying, you know what? Now we're going to push fundamentalist Christianity on everybody.
The rabbi says Jewish law is clear on protecting the mother.
This is a ghoulish attempt to force someone's religion on us.
When I saw press about what Rabbi Silver was doing, I was thrilled. Yes, this is exactly what must be done. I am a professor at the University of Pennsylvania, where I teach constitutional law. I lecture my students on the separation of church and state, and I explain that half of our states, almost half, have some kind of RFRA. RFRA stands for Religious Freedom Restoration Act. What it does is it gives a very high level of protection to a believer in the state. With RFRAs, we entered into this very dangerous era, in my view, in which people were being invited to use their religious faith to get around laws of all kinds. But one of the most interesting aspects of the post-Roe era is that there's a very clear overlap between states that are banning abortion that also enacted a RFRA. Every RFRA requires the state to mold its law so it is the least restrictive for this believer. Now the question is, can you use the Religious Freedom Restoration Act in these states to defeat the abortion laws?
We're going to now put them to the test. And the test is this: are you going to use RFRA only to protect fundamentalist Christians and their intolerance? Or do Jews get to use it too?
Many people think, oh, religion in general is just anti-abortion, but Jews have been embedded in this reproductive health movement for over a century. The first president of Planned Parenthood was a Jewish woman. Many of the doctors and nurses who worked for Planned Parenthood were Jewish. Jewish women were involved in JANE, which was one of the early abortion access collectives that helped thousands of women get safe abortions in Chicago before they were legal. And today, 80% of Jews support legal access to abortion in all or most cases.
Judaism today does not have a central authority. We haven't had a central authority in probably 1,500 years. One of the characteristics of Jewish law, despite its reputation in some circles, is that it is a dynamic process. Jewish law is changing and having to apply old rules and old principles and to figure out how they apply in contemporary circumstances. On abortion, there are fundamentally two streams of thought. The minority camp believes that life begins at 40 days after conception, so approximately 8 weeks the way doctors count pregnancies. And the predominant opinion is that life begins at birth. No one pretty much believes that life begins at conception. So Jewish law, the way most understand it, permit terminating the pregnancy, and then it becomes a personal decision of the family what they think is best for them and how they wish to proceed.
It's become really clear to me that we need to be calling our senators right now and reinforcing that we want access to abortion to remain in the state of Indiana. Ava, do you know what this big building is? What? That's called the courthouse. All right, you ready? She doesn't know anything of our personal history with this issue. I think it is important for her to kind of see this in action and be a part of democracy and civic action. Indiana already has a mediocre medical system and the third highest maternal mortality rate in the country. So if the bill goes in place now, we won't try again to have a second child. The abortion ban bill passed.
All right. I'm just reliving everything. I mean, we knew it was coming, but it was still a shock.
Women and people with pregnancy capabilities are already dying from childbirth in Indiana. It's just gonna get worse. We just have to keep moving and doing things and supporting people who need it, because now the state isn't and the government isn't. And this is something that is happening across the country.
Bring me the case that I would bring under RFRA. I've said that for 30 years. And nobody ever had one that I would ever bring under RFRA until now. Now I would do it. Now we've got 5 lawsuits in Florida. Florida is a major battleground on abortion because all of a sudden you have a state shutting down abortion where there were so many people needing access to abortion. And you have them doing it based on a religious viewpoint. In our lawsuits in Florida, we have 7 members of the clergy, we have 5 religions, and we are claiming under a state RFRA that their faith is being substantially burdened by a state law and that they have to be accommodated. So a law that started as really envisioned just for the right, really only used by the right in many ways for years, is now the tool that we need against the theocratic abortion bans.
It started out with just my congregation, but when I filed the lawsuit, I received many, many emails and phone calls to have other religions joining, friends throughout the interfaith community, like Maya Malay, a Buddhist leader, joined our lawsuit. Hey, Maya.
Hi, Rabbi. How are you? It's good to see you.
Thank you very much for joining this lawsuit.
Yeah, it's important because theocratic rulings shouldn't be made, and it's the exclusion of others.
I was really thrilled to see that there was tremendous support for this litigation and to maintain the separation of church and state and equality, not just for Jews, but for everybody.
As all of these clergy stand up and believers stand up and say, that's not consistent with my faith, all of a sudden everyone's on a high ground. And we start talking about what's best for the country and not just one set of minority religious beliefs.
I am the first female and the first Jewish president of Americans United for Separation of Church and State in its 75-year history. Americans United was actually founded by people of faith who all came together because they cared so passionately about protecting religious freedom, and they understood that church-state separation was the only guarantee for religious freedom. The Dobbs abortion decision is an attack on church-state separation, because the government is embracing one narrow set of religious views over everyone else. This feels like an exceptional moment. This feels like a moment that this organization was created for.
I'm a Presbyterian minister, and our denomination supports a woman's moral conscience and ability to make choices that impact her life and her family's life. It's a matter of my faith.
As a Jew, as you know, we are so comforted to know that there's Christian clergy out there who believe profoundly in religious freedom as part of our country's promise, but also as part of their own religious faith.
Yes.
I am a Muslim son of Pakistani immigrants who was born in the Bay Area, California. My very American story is under threat due to Christian nationalism. Nearly 61% of Republicans now support declaring the United States a Christian nation. In fact, the Supreme Court's recent ban on abortion violates the religious freedoms of Jews and Muslims, both communities that, by the way, allow for abortions. Another word for this growing Christian nationalism movement is fascism. Will we finally name it and confront it and white supremacy as the greatest threats to our national security today? Answer wisely, because our country's democracy and freedoms depend on it. Thank you.
I loved what you had to say about how it's against the Muslim and Jewish faith to ban abortion. Religious freedom belongs to all of us, not just some of us. So we're going to be bringing our own series of lawsuits challenging abortion bans under religious freedom.
So the lawsuit, the strategy, but also the messengers is so important.
Yeah. I need more Muslim imams.
Yes, you do.
To speak up about abortion rights as a religious freedom issue. Do you know folks, imams, that are willing to speak? Can we talk?
A couple. You know, it's worth broaching the conversation.
Let's talk.
Yeah, see, that helps.
The lawsuits that we're bringing are under state establishment clauses that say that the state cannot codify one religious viewpoint into the law. If we win under a state establishment clause claim, the case can't be appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. It stops in the state courts. And that's important right now because we've seen that we have a court that is aligning with religious extremists. But we have to remember that the reason that we're seeing such a backlash in this country is because we're on the winning side of history. Just look at what the next generation of America looks like. We are no longer majority white and Christian. By 2046, we're going to be majority black and brown. We all need to celebrate that. Diversity enables us to be a stronger democracy and a stronger country. And the strategy is to create a momentum behind these, a momentum that will spread these lawsuits to other states.
we're at a moment in history where we either act muscularly and directly, or we're going to be mowed over by a theocracy that knows no limits. And frankly, my own Presbyterian faith led me to conclude that that's just not a society we can live in.
I put together this group. It's got almost 100 members. We've called it Hoosier Jews for Choice, and we are figuring out what we're going to do next.
You will hear from community organizations working daily to disrupt the purposeful and callous disregard that produces results like this legislation.
I know that we are all very disheartened, hurt, and angry by this bill that's going into effect tomorrow, but we really cannot stop now.
It's devastating to think of a world that we must live in as women without our human and equal rights. Banning abortion nationwide would lead to a 21% increase in the number of pregnancy-related deaths overall, and a 33% increase amongst Black women.
Laws like this only care about the fetus. The mother, she's expendable. And that's why it's not Jewish, it's not rational, it's not humane, and it's not something that we should ever abide by in Florida or in the United States.
Thank you so much. We are going to speak on behalf of Hoosier Jews for Choice. In the Jewish tradition, we conduct a ritual called Havdalah. Havdalah is a ceremony that separates between the holy day of Shabbat and the everyday. It separates between rest and work, between lightness and darkness. And so on this evening, we would like to mark this separation between having abortion rights and not having abortion rights with a modified Havdalah ritual. As we mark this separation and acknowledge our pain, we must also think about the responsibilities that we carry forward, our obligations to show up for those most impacted by this decision. There is work to be done, and I know that all of us here will continue to do that work.
Thank you. Can folks hear me? Excellent. Wonderful. Well, that was incredibly powerful. film and a real expression of Jewish values. I want to welcome our very esteemed panelists and thank you for joining us this evening. You can read in more depth about each of our guests tonight in your program, but I do want to briefly introduce them. Alexandra Lehman leads the Reproductive Health Rights and Justice Policy portfolio at the National Council of Jewish Women. JCRC is proud to partner with NCJW, which is the leading Jewish advocacy organization working to protect and advance reproductive rights and access to health care for all. I'm pleased to welcome Delegate Charneil Herring, who serves as Majority Leader in the Virginia House of Delegates. We're very honored to have you tonight. Leader Herring founded the Virginia Legislative Reproductive Health Caucus, and she's championed several pieces of legislation to protect women's health freedom. And last but most certainly not least, our own Northern Virginian, Allie Tombros-Corman, is the founder and executive director of the Red Tent Fund, a national nonprofit rooted in Jewish values and teachings that funds abortions across the country for anyone who needs care, with no restrictions on religion, identity, income, or other factors. And I am very proud to serve on the National Leadership Advisory Board for the Red Tent Fund. Thank you again all for being here with us tonight. I want to dive right into our discussion. Alex, can you update us on where the Indiana case is right now? Because that was the most recent information there was from 2022, and I know it's been in the news recently.
Yes. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you to the JCRC for having us, and to be among these fellow panelists is truly an honor, and to all of you for being here on this probably almost rainy Thursday evening. We really appreciate it. And what I love about this film is that it really encapsulates the power of approaching access to abortion from this frame of religious freedom. And that we as Jews are able to understand that religious freedom doesn't just apply to one narrow faith tradition, right? It belongs to all of us. And that our First Amendment guarantees that we can be free from the imposition of one theological view, right, in our laws, and we can freely exercise what our faith compels us to do. And in that free exercise vein, I think we see this RFRA challenge brought. So the case was filed in 2022. My organization, National Council of Jewish Women, filed an amicus brief alongside almost, I believe it was over 20 interfaith partners. And after years of sort of procedural back and forth, various stages of litigation, the most recent update we got was in the March of this past year, so about 2 months ago, where a permanent injunction was granted to the plaintiffs. And what's really critical is that this was a class action suit. So the plaintiffs were the Hoosier Jews for Choice, to whom we were introduced in this film, as well as some anonymous plaintiffs, including Jewish women, who really cogently argued the ways in which this abortion ban infringed upon their free religious exercise. But what's amazing about this ruling is that anyone in the state, right, regardless of what the leader of their faith tradition might say, if they feel so compelled by their faith to access abortion care, that according to the law right now, they are able to receive that exemption. What that might look like in practice is a very different question, right? I believe there are only 2 people who are providing abortion care right now in the state of Indiana as a result of that ban. So what does it look like for insurance coverage? What does it look like to access through these challenging sort of legal pathways that religious exemption? So we're continuing to explore that, but what we've learned in the past few weeks is that this case is now, it was immediately appealed by the state's Attorney General. It's being fast-tracked to the state Supreme Court. So oral arguments are set for September. Briefs are due in the next month. So my organization, alongside partners, plans to file another amicus brief where we will directly invoke theological teachings to substantiate the authenticity, the sincerity of these religious beliefs, because we know this to be true, and this movement is growing. While this litigation strategy specifically is relatively novel, right? We're really seeing it start to develop in the past few decades, but then in this specific iteration, in the post-Dobbs era, where we need new and fresh and innovative legal strategies to combat these bans. My organization has been around for 130 years, And throughout that history, we've been advocating for abortion access, not in spite of, but because of our faith that teaches us that health and justice and dignity is so integral, that in fact life doesn't begin at conception, as we learned in the film. And that religious pluralism is so core to our democracy flourishing, but to all of us and our families and our communities being able to freely live. And that's why it's so exciting to see litigation like this in Indiana, to see this happening in various states, and now in Virginia, right, the last bastion of abortion access in the South. We are on the precipice of something really exciting, and I look forward to learning more about that.
Thank you. So, Leader Herring, that's a great segue. Where do things stand in Virginia, and in terms of the constitutional amendment? And can you also talk a little bit about what Alex just discussed, the critical role that Virginia plays in the South, so people understand that?
Right, and thank you for that question, and thank you for your amazing work. And I'm just grateful to be here. It has been a long road in Virginia, and I'm just going to take you all back. This all started with trap regulations that it was a surprise to all of us. A bill was amended having to do with nursing home facilities. And it started, sort of our fight for freedom started there. Then we had the forced ultrasound bill that we fought against for a long time. And I'm just going to point to 2020 when she's in our audience, Speaker Eileen Fillicorn, the speaker, and with her leadership, and I was honored to carry the bill for the Reproductive Health Protection Act, which made Virginia the only state in the South that provides access to abortion within the limits of the law. And we also got rid of a lot of unnecessary things that restricted access, like non-evidence-based informed consent laws, waiting periods, and things that were not evidence-based and actually was harmful for patients according to doctors. So we, in this process for constitutional amendments in Virginia, we have to pass it twice in the legislature with no changes with the intervening election. So we have done that. We passed it last year in the late fall, and then we had our intervening election and we passed it again. So it is headed to voters in November. It will make Virginia, and I just want to say that this constitutional amendment is broad. It's in the sense that it protects the entire spectrum of reproductive health care. So protecting birth control access, protecting postpartum care, the care, of course, abortion care, protects fertility treatments. So it's a full spectrum, and that's where we are. There's going to be a lot of work, though, to make sure that voters understand what the constitutional amendment is, and action on the ground. So, yeah, making sure we are talking to voters.
It has been a journey.
Yes.
I remember when I first joined JCRC, and our Virginia director at the time, Darcy Hirsch, who is now at National Council of Jewish Women, she and I were working on those TRAP bills and on the ultrasound bills. And so it's been a real odyssey.
It certainly has. And I just, to be honest, there were people on my side of the aisle that didn't want to embrace this freedom that we kept talking about and saying, well, no, no, no. But, when we don't embrace freedom, religious freedom, freedom to have dominion over your own body, you see tragic consequences. And we saw in other states with restrictions on abortions, politicians who don't know science, quite frankly, making restrictions, and then what doctors are scared to provide care. Women have miscarriages and they're not able to discharge the miscarriage without the use of abortifacient, and so sepsis sets in. And we have seen, and it's been reported, either women die, become very sick, or become infertile. I mean, so this has been a long fight and a long struggle, but unfortunately we're seeing the consequences of restrictions in other states and what could possibly happen in Virginia if we don't continue to fight and make sure that this constitutional amendment is passed.
Allie, how does your work at the Red Tent Fund fit into this? We were just, you and I, sharing an article that talked about how Virginia has become a travel point for people across the South. How does your work at the Red Tent Fund fit into that?
Great question. Thank you so much for having me. And it's really lovely to be in the room with JCRC anytime I can be, because JCRC is so much a part of kind of the origin story of how Red Tent came to be. The very quick version is, as a public health professional, I work in sectional reproductive health and was working at a local abortion fund when October 7th happened. And the fallout and the lack of welcoming for Jewish identity in certain progressive spaces after October 7th was very front and center in the work in the organization that I was doing. And long before I knew Gila and Ron, I had champions in my corner who were helping to stand up and say it is not okay to hold Jewish people to a different standard, to make them choose between their support for reproductive health and rights and abortion access and their Jewish identity. So the Red Tent Fund was born from that experience and is really a way for us to live our Jewish values the way that we see in the film, the way that Alex was talking about, a way for people to not feel like they have to choose between their identity, their religious identity, and their support for reproductive health. We provide abortions for anyone, well, we provide funding, excuse me, for abortions for anyone who needs it, regardless of their personal identity, their politics, their religion, because to me, that is an incredibly Jewish thing, to take care of not just people who look like us or are from our immediate community, but to look larger, broader at the world around us and try to make it better. So that's what we are doing. We're raising money predominantly from the Jewish community, but not exclusively, and then turning around and getting that money out the door to independent abortion clinics around the country so that patients can access the funding they so desperately need in order to access abortion care.
We're going to open it up to questions, but before we do, I just want to ask each of you if you could briefly talk about what average folk like us can do to be a part of protecting these freedoms and advancing this cause. So we'll start with Leader Hebron.
Okay. There is a group called the Virginia Coalition for Reproductive Freedom. They are a coalition of different groups coming together. There's actually this Saturday in Richmond at the Bell Tower at the Capitol, there's going to be a rally. That's the beginning of sort of the launch of our on-the-ground effort. So it is talking to friends, it's talking to neighbors, is helping make phone calls or doing postcards and just talking to individuals about this amendment that is on the ballot, and so that people are starting to educate themselves and know that and ready to vote to support it. Yes, it polls well, but polls are polls. Doing the work and making sure people turn out to vote is very important, and we just can't allow people to get discouraged. Everyone needs them. Men and women, this act protects everybody's reproductive freedom, so it's important that we do so, and yeah, that would be helpful.
Wonderful. We'll be sharing this information from our office. Alex?
I appreciate this question because this is really an all-hands-on-deck moment, and there's a role for everyone. So NCJW is a part of that coalition, but we also have launched a Virginia-based interfaith coalition for reproductive health rights and justice, and I do want to shout out our state policy advocate, Joni Hun, who's in the audience, and they are convening an interfaith prayer breakfast on Saturday at 10 a.m. in Richmond before this campaign kicks off. So please, if you have any questions, I'm sure she'd be happy to help. We're really excited about that. I also wanted to call attention to my colleague Sarah Flores Shannon in the audience, who runs the Faithful Majority for Reproductive Freedom Coalition, which is another interfaith coalition that is working to reclaim the narrative around religious and reproductive freedom. And that's where all of us have a role to play in how we talk about abortion, how we engage our communities, whether that's at the courthouse, whether that's at the dinner table. You may have seen headlines popping up actually just hours before we came here that the Supreme Court granted a stay on mifepristone access. So happy to get into sort of the details of that case. It gets a little bit wonky, but ultimately this is a short-term win, and NCJW filed a brief with over 50 interfaith partners to the Supreme Court on this case. So again, big, small, in an individual capacity, in an organizational capacity, we're at the real precipice of change right now. And that's very exciting. And to know that when we broaden the tent, that there are more people who come, to know that we're doing this in community and are doing it with joy is really affirming and really exciting. So I hope you're able to share in that joy.
Allie?
Absolutely. I am so grateful that you are doing the things that you are doing to make these policy changes happen. The NCJW is there from an advocacy perspective. I think I've lived in Virginia for more than a dozen years now, and the idea that we are at this moment, we are so close to being able to enshrining this in our constitutional amendments is so unbelievably exciting to me. And so while these amazing folks are out and pushing for those policy changes, which we so desperately need, I would invite all of you to see yourselves as part of the work that is happening in the interim. While we all know the work of government and policy is slow, and in the meantime, people need abortions. And so we need you, we need the Jewish community to stand up and support abortion access for all. You can do that through the Red Tent Fund. You can do that through other abortion access organizations. Personally, we at the Red Tent Fund, what we really need is for you to tell 5 people that we exist. I think our word of mouth is one of our greatest strengths as a community, our ability to share information and support each other's experiences. And so telling 5 people about the Red Tent Fund, whether because they may be in a position to support it or because they may someday be in a position today, tomorrow, or down the road where they need our funding, this only serves to help more people, to let them know that we exist. And lastly, but certainly not least, I would ask that to the extent that you can and that you feel comfortable, that you show up in as many spaces as you can, proudly, unapologetically Jewish, proudly, unapologetically pro-abortion. To Alex's point about, this takes time, this takes conversation, this takes change of heart for some people to come around to this issue. When people see one of us stepping into a space and saying, we are proudly wearing this mantle of we are Jewish and pro-abortion, I think it really helps create an opportunity for conversation that we desperately need.
Thank you. Thank all of you. Well, we're going to open it up to some Q&A. We do need somebody who needs a mic.
This is a question about the film itself. What was the purpose of why it was made, and who is the intended audience?
I think we might have to get back to you on that one.
Oh, I think they just need the mic.
Can you hear me? Okay, sorry about that. I just had to get the microphone back. I'm not familiar with the filmmaker, but the filmmaker has worked, Paula Eiseld has worked with NCJW, and I think the audience for the film is the same as the audience for any documentary. It's been shown at film festivals around the country. It's won many awards, and I think the purpose is to shed light on an angle for protecting these rights that people may not be familiar with. Okay.
Yes. Regardless of one's opinion on, I'd say, the merits of the film itself, I think it's a testament to the power of storytelling. And I think, as Ali mentioned, showing up Jewishly in these spaces matters. If you like the T-shirt you saw, shamelessly, that said Jews for Abortion Access, you can find that on the NCJW website. But I would say another way we can tell the story is through using our platforms. So every year, NCJW does a Repro Shabbat, which is when we read the portion in the Torah that undergirds our Jewish belief in abortion access. And we have thousands of clergy across the country who from the Bima are speaking to their congregations about why it is a Jewish value to support reproductive freedom, about how we can take action, about how we can step up. So I think hearing unconventional voices perhaps on this conversation, that can really start to shift the needle. So whether it's through film at a film festival to a lay audience, whether it's to a group that's gathered for Shabbat, I think there are ways that you can serve now as an advocate, knowing what we know and what we've talked about today.
And I would just add, if I can, that I think for so long, you know, when they speak to this in the film, that for so long when you talked about this intersectionality of faith and reproductive health, or faith and abortion, there was almost just an assumption that we were talking about the Christian right and this idea that there was no support for abortion. And so for groups like NCJW to have worked for so many years to start to change that narrative and to start to introduce these conversations, both in terms of spirituality and our spiritual right to exercise our religious freedoms, but also the laws and teachings that back up and affirm the right to those beliefs, I just think has opened up the door to an entirely new conversation we couldn't have, I don't think, imagined 15 or 20 years ago.
Can I say, as a Christian, I'm grateful because I feel I cannot speak to the faith. So having that story told is meaningful for those who are not Jewish to understand, because as a Christian, I wouldn't feel comfortable talking about someone's faith that's not mine. And that, you would be surprised in the legislature, which is, there are some who actually say, you know what, I did not know that. I had no idea. And they start to rethink their position. So I'm grateful when people tell their stories, and especially their faith, where they're coming from and their beliefs. It makes a difference.
Yeah, and I think I've watched this film several times, and each time that the woman from Indiana said that they're not going to have a second child, that is so powerful and heartbreaking and understandable. Okay, all right. Well, I want to thank you all so much. We will be sharing information about concrete action that you all can take to be a part of this work, and invite you to chat with our speakers after the close of the program. Thank you so much.
Testing, that's better. You know, as I was watching that documentary and listening to this distinguished group of panelists, I was thinking two things. One, how it's a shame in the year 2026 that many grandmothers had more reproductive rights in many states than their granddaughters. And to thank God that we've got such distinguished Jewish and non-Jewish leaders who are in this panel who are leading the fight to make sure that we change that trajectory. So we should give them a... The JCRC has lobbied for the last two sessions to make sure that we were able to get to this, and the JCRC will be actively supporting and calling on all members of the Jewish community to vote in support of this ballot initiative. For those of you who are concerned about law, nonprofits are allowed to get behind ballot initiatives, not just behind candidates, and we will be throwing our full support to make sure that reproductive freedom is enshrined in the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia. Over the last 2 years, as our community has grappled with extraordinary challenges, there's been one constant we can rely on. And that was the exceptional leadership of our president, Bob Budoff. Bob was truly the right person for the moment. He loves Israel, and he loves the Jewish people, and he loves that his daughter's getting married. And by the way, the invitation was gorgeous, I gotta tell you. My wife thought it was amazing. He is strategic, he's thoughtful, and most important, and all of you who know Bob know that he's a mensch. And we celebrate your last as we celebrate your last 2 years of leadership, our organization has been blessed to have you led us during this critical time, and I've personally been honored to work alongside of you. There was simply no one better suited to guide the JCRC through these challenges. But Bob, let me offer you a warning. Thorne alluded to it. Ask any JCRC president in this room. Once you become a past president, you never leave. It's like Omerta in The Sopranos. Do not even try. I also want to thank our extraordinary executive committee for its unwavering dedication. This group is called upon time and time again to offer their collective wisdom and guidance on our most important and often our most difficult decisions, and their leadership has been invaluable. And to our JCRC board, you're simply the best. You bring passion, expertise, and commitment to serving our Jewish community at a time when leadership clearly means more than ever. To our new board members, I extend a heartfelt welcome as you begin your journey with us. Through our government relations work, Israel advocacy and education, interfaith and intergroup outreach, and efforts to combat anti-Semitism, there is a meaningful path for everybody's engagement. We look forward to working with you in the years ahead. Please just step forward, stretch out your hand, and we will reach out to get you involved. To our departing board members, thank you for your leadership and service. You have helped our community thrive, and we are grateful. Stay involved, because after a 2-year hiatus, you're allowed to come back on the board. We have a couple people in this room who are on their third terms. I'm looking at one person, I won't embarrass her. Third term of 8 years on the board. I also want to recognize the remarkable professionals at JCRC. The past 2.5 years have been extraordinarily difficult. We live, eat, and breathe this stuff every moment. We are texting to each other. I'm getting texts at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night. Usually after that time, we switch to Teams. Yet every day, our staff has moved forward with dedication and excellence to ensure our community will succeed. And I'd like to ask all my colleagues to stand up and be recognized. And not are all here today. That was about half, third, 15. We're about 15 full-time now. And a special thank you to my friend and our outstanding COO, Gila Franklin-Siegel, and you'll see why I'm saying this in a moment, who has led critical efforts across the region to ensure that Jewish students in grades K through 12 learn in an environment that is safe, respected, and embraced. A recent ADL audit released just 3 days ago underscores why this work is so essential and why Gila and I frankly thought we didn't have hard proof, but anecdotally, we needed to beef up our operations. And the ADL statistics underscored what we thought, finding that 34% of the anti-Semitic incidents in Maryland occur in K through 12 schools. That's the highest rate of any state as a percentage of their anti-Semitic incidents. And that 2/3 of these occur in Montgomery County, which has 45% of the Jewish community, demonstrating how necessary these efforts are at the moment and how we will continue to expand our staff and our engagement, and we will continue to do so if we have to meet the moment. To our generous donors, thank you for enabling our mission. To our activists and volunteers, thank you for living values through your action. We're deeply grateful to the Jewish Federation of Greater Washington for its generous financial support and strong partnership. And we also value the deep relationships we enjoy with over 101 Jewish agencies, schools, and synagogues throughout the region, partnerships that are essential to the strength of our community. As we look ahead, I'm very excited to begin working on July 1st with our new incoming president, Galia Masika Greenberg, the first Israeli American to lead the JCRC. As an Israeli, an American, a first-rate thinker, and an outstanding community leader, she brings extraordinary perspective to this role. And under her leadership, JCRC is poised for 2 more years of impact, growth, and outstanding success. Thank you, Galia. The last two and a half years have been profoundly challenging. The agony of Israeli hostages. Remember all those protests in front of the Qatari embassy? Concern for Israel as it faced the 7-front war and the possibility of war, of course, breaking out again in Iran in the next week or so. Declining public and political support for Israel. Rising and increasing normalized anti-Semitism, erosion of democratic norms, affronts to our civil liberties, and more. I want to assure you that your JCRC does not shrink from these challenges. We know the work will not be easy, but I can tell you that we are a fearless organization. We do not retreat. We confront challenges directly, with clarity and purpose, whether local, national, or in Israel, or across Jewish communities worldwide. Our mission is clear: to ensure the Jewish community's interests, values, and priorities are represented, respected, and advanced. We are guided by generations of Jewish courage, resilience, and perseverance. We also know that the best days of American Jewry lies ahead, that the future will require commitment, vision, and demanding work. And is it not reassuring to know that your JCRC is ready to meet this challenge? Thank you. May we go from strength to strength. And now please join us for a dessert reception.